If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Fedorov, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green. Today we're going to dive into the world of pumpkins. In particular, we're going to dissect them. Have you ever cut one of these things open before? Oh my, you have to have a stomach for the smell of a pumpkin. They just don't smell that great, at least not for myself. You might enjoy it. Now, the interesting part about the pumpkin is that they can last for a very long time when not cut open. They'll last actually for months. In fact, these pumpkins I grew at the thingsgreen.com botanical gardens, and they are literally months old. And I wanted to share with you that you can keep them for a very long time, and we also want to see what's going on with them. Now, the word pumpkin comes from the Greek word of pepon, P-E-P-E-O-N. I think that's how you spell it, meaning a large melon, and that's what they kind of look like. And then it evolved into pompon, and then pompion, and then to the modern pumpkin. So now that you know where the word comes from, we have to understand that every part of the pumpkin is actually edible. Now we're talking the leaves, the roots, the plant, the shell of this thing, the insides, the seeds, everything of this is edible. So what do you say we start the whole concept, okay? Oh, by the way, most people aren't going to eat the leaves. Most people aren't going to eat the roots. They're not going to eat that. Normally we just eat the pumpkin and we eat the seeds. And by the way, the seeds are really pretty cool because a pumpkin seed contains 151 calories per ounce. Now the meat inside that we're going to get, well, that's a little bit different. That's only 49 calories per ounce. So we have to decide what we're going to eat. Now, isn't that kind of fascinating though, if you think about it? Because we have the inside, the seed, has more calories than the actual meat itself. And if you cook the outside of this, you can actually eat that as well. So it's up to you. They're not very sweet usually. That's why when you go to the market and you buy a pumpkin pie, they doctor it up with a lot of sugar and a lot of whipped cream. And I love my whipped cream on my pumpkin pies. Okay, so what we're going to start off over here is trying to figure out what kind of knife is going to be okay to cut these things open. Whether it's a cleaver, whether it's a serrated knife, or whether it's a straight knife. You know, you just have to figure it out. Be careful when you cut these things because they are sharp. There's no doubt about that. Now, before we start dissecting, or as we start dissecting, I should say, you're going to notice that the stem is really important to keep on the plant. And the reason for that is because the stem allows you to hold it. Give you something to kind of hang on to. So that's important to kind of keep in mind. The other thing is that there are a lot of different reasons why we would keep a pumpkin around. Of course, you probably equate this with something like Halloween or Thanksgiving or even Christmas and New Year's time, because what they'll do is they'll take and they'll decorate them. The idea and the concept of cutting them out has kind of died down a bit, where now today what they'll do is they'll take and they just use markers and paint and such like that, because that allows them to last a long period of time. Now, you've actually seen on this show before where we've made little pumpkin planters for centerpieces, and the smaller the pumpkin, probably the better centerpiece that it'll make, and of course it's beautiful for a cornucopia for Thanksgiving. So this one right here has a little bit blemishes, it has some character to it, and what I want to show you right now is this. This is actually kind of cool. We're going to take and we're going to just cut the top off on this particular one. Now here we want to take and just, okay, is that knife going to work? I don't know. Man, we're making a lot of racket, aren't we? Let's try this one. This one cuts better. This is a little bit of a serrated knife. So we're going to cut this like this. Oops. Might be not a bad idea to take a marker and then take and mark it around. Now, a pumpkin on the inside, like I said, it's pretty gross stuff. It does not smell super, super nice. But the insides usually come out pretty easily. In fact, what I'm going to do here is put this in water. We're going to show you what we're going to do with this later. Now, this is kind of a fun thing you could do with your kids. And once again, we come in here. It's gross. Now, you don't have to clean out the pumpkin for what I'm going to show you right now. You can leave it alone. Now, the second that you start opening up a pumpkin like this, it is going to get bacteria inside, and that bacteria is going to begin to rot the pumpkin out. Now, it doesn't happen right away, so you don't have to worry about that. It slowly works its way into the pumpkin to where it'll begin to rot out. Now, you could wash this out, get all the seeds out, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the seeds a little bit later, what we could do with them. Then what you could do is you can actually make a planter out of this. Now, you can put soil inside of here, put a plant in, and this will last for about 3 weeks or so. And then it'll start rotting out, it'll get really juicy and kind of yucky. Or what you could do is just get yourself a small pot like this, and you could put this inside, and there you have it. Is that too cool or what? So that's our spider plant pumpkin. You could put flowers in there. It's really pretty when that happens. You can put marigolds and such. Now this right here, this spider plant, this is ripe for propagating, by the way. If you were to take a container that had soil in it and take this right here, this right here, and let it touch the soil and anchor it to the soil somehow. Just put a little rock or something like that. You leave this there for a couple of weeks, it'll start to root. Then you would just cut this off and you would have yourself another plant. One of the easiest plants to grow. It's a great beginner plant, and according to NASA, this is also a plant that just gives a lot of oxygen. So you want to have 1 6-inch plant for every 100 square feet of space that you have in your house, because it will give you oxygen, and better than that, or I should say in addition to that, what it'll do is that it'll help clean up everything in the house. It'll clean up all of the toxins that you have in there. So remember that right there. Okay, now if you don't have to get rid of this, what we're going to do, look at how neat that is. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this off like this, kind of like at an angle, because we're not finished. And we're going to go just like this. And we put it alongside this, and how beautiful is that? Oh, absolutely love that. Okay, so this doesn't help us when we come to the process of dissecting them. So there's a couple of things that I use pumpkins for. Well, I use them for the seeds, and we're going to pick this one right now because I think it's kind of cool. We use them for the seeds, and I use them to feed my chickens. When you have chickens, this right here is like caviar to them. And we want to give the whole pumpkin. Now, for chickens, you just don't throw the whole thing inside the pen and let them chew at it. You can actually do little designs for the chickens. If you were to scar up, the front like this, it makes little holes. They know that there's little holes in there. Then they'll take and they'll create a design. If you wanted to, you could actually make a jack-o'-lantern kind of look out of it, or some kind of design, scar it up within that design that you've done, and then they'll go and they'll peck away at it. And then before you know it, they'll peck away at the whole thing. But remember, the second they start pecking on it, it's going to end up rotting on us. So we've got to be careful. So I like to take these and cut them up in rounds for the birds, and I like to cut them up for rounds because it's going to be easier to harvest the meat out of this as well. So we're going to take and just cut this up here. And again, I implore you to get a very sharp knife. If you got kids helping you with this, make sure you're around to help with them because you just don't want them to get hurt. So we're going to cut these up in rounds. In fact, Mrs. Sting's Green, she just spoils our chickens. Okay, so we're going to take and cut things up in rounds like this. And the essence and the scent that's coming off of this is ridiculous. It's pretty pungent. They will eat this whole thing up, the chickens do. And then I'll take them just like this and I'll throw them to the birds. Now, for our purposes here, we're going to be harvesting all this. And we're going to clean off all of this yuckiness, which is actually goodness. You want to cut off that stringy stuff. And like we did over here a little bit earlier, we're going to save these seeds. So, let's do another one here real quick. We're going to cut this off. Like I said, the stringiness will eventually cut off. We'll take and we'll clean this up. Now, here's the whole thing about pumpkin seeds. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, they are 151 calories per ounce. So you could take these and you can just put them on a cookie sheet, dry them, just allow nature to dry them, and then you can eat them. Those are called raw pumpkin seeds. Or what you could do is you could put them inside of a toaster or an oven on a very low degree, no more than 125 degrees. Stick them in the oven and then check on them every 10-15 minutes because you don't want them to burn. And once they've been dried out, then you've got yourself dried pumpkin seeds. Or what you could do is you could take and you could put these in salt. And if you put them in salt, you could put salt in the brine or put some salt in water and let it dissolve. Let it soak there for a short period of time. And then without dampening them off, you put them on your cookie sheet and then you dry them. And then you have salted pumpkin seeds. Any way you do them, they're going to be absolutely awesome. But what about growing them? Yeah, we can grow these things. Now, it's really kind of cool because the largest pumpkin that was ever grown was around 2,100 pounds by a guy, I believe it was in Italy. That's a huge pumpkin. In fact, they're so big that they put them on pallets and they have to use forklifts and cranes to pick these things up. It's a real science in how they do it. So the bigger the pumpkin seed, the bigger the pumpkin you're going to get. So if you want to grow pumpkins this size, you use seeds this size. If you want to grow a giganormous pumpkin, you can pay upwards of $25, $50, $100, $200 for giant pumpkin seeds from those winter pumpkins, and you can grow real big ones. But again, it's a super intense science. You got to get in there and you have to baby the plants like you've never babied before. And believe it or not, those competitions, the people will win $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 off of them. Whatever the award money is, it's a lot. So that's something to think about too. If you want to try something fun, just do a Google search for, or some kind of online search for pumpkin competitions in your area, and that's how you can do it. A lot of fairs, by the way, they'll do this kind of stuff. I've been to our local fairs where they've taken and they'll take the giant tomato, the giant pumpkin, the giant squash, the giant eggplant, the giant whatever, and you can do that. All right, so what we've done over here is I've got to pick up my mess now. We've dried these out. Oh, by the way, how to plant these things? What you're going to do is you're going to build a mound that is around 1 foot in diameter, about 4 to 6 inches tall. You're going to put 5 to 6 seeds in a circle around them, not touching, of course. You bury them as deep as the seed is, about 1 inch. You bury them and then you water them. Once they start growing, you're going to pull all but, say 2 or 3 of them out. So you're going to leave at least 2 of them in, because you want to make sure that you've got plants so they can cross-pollinate. The vines, you need room to grow these things. My pumpkins this year, I had 3 vines. I don't think I had 4. 3 for sure. Yeah, even if I had 4. They grew 60 feet. That's how each one of them grew. That's how long they grew. I harvested out of those 3 vines probably 30 or 40 pumpkins. I mean, there was a lot. I gave pumpkins away to everybody. And like I said, if you keep them in a cool area, you can keep them for months. It's really, really cool. All right, now what we're going to do is that we're going to take and cut these up in small pieces. And the reason why we're going to do this is because, did you know that pumpkins are like 90% water? Yeah. So what you'll want to do is cut off all this stringy stuff, because it's stringy. I think that's the technical term for it. And then you're going to want to cut it off from the rind itself. Try to get as much rind as possible. Now you could take and you could store this rind. You could not store the rind. You could take this, give this to the chickens too. That'll be fine. I wonder if turtles or tortoises can eat this stuff. Not 100% sure. I don't see why not. We've done shows with different tortoises. Tortai, is that what they're called? Got more than one? No, I don't know what they're called. Tortoises. Anyway, so this is not necessarily the easiest job ever, and you're going to get these little blocks of meat that we're going to call this pumpkin meat, and then you would, again, you could store it just like this. Or I should not store it. You could take and you can freeze it. I would get all this stuff off. You don't want all that on there. This knife is really sharp. I don't want to cut myself over here. Call the medics. So you're going to take this, and you could freeze it like this. When you're ready to use it, whether you're cooking it, there's a lot of ethnic dishes that actually use pumpkin in their recipes. You can make pies out of this, as I mentioned earlier. You could whop it up. You could use it for food. You could save it for the birds. You could, so there's just a ton of things that you can really do with this. So it's really, really kind of cool. Oh, by the way, did you know that the concept behind carving was not created over here? It was created in Ireland. And what they did is that they took squash and they took turnips, because turnips can get massive like this. They were carving those, and then it eventually turned into the pumpkin. So this is what we're going to do with this. Again, you got to have the stomach for it. It's always a good idea to test it out first, to ask yourself whether or not, get a small pumpkin, cut it up. You'll eventually get used to it. I'm really not smelling it right now, so it's really not as bad as I think that it may be. And then put them in a blender. Cook them up. Look on. I'm not a cook. I'm not a chef, but I know Mrs. Things Green would make bread out of this. She would, I don't know, make something crazy out of it, but it's actually pretty good. There's 45 different varieties of pumpkins, and you just need to decide which you want to grow, because you can grow little itty bitty tiny ones, or you can grow the big ones. It doesn't matter. Oh, by the way, what you would do is that you would plant these in spring. That's when you need to grow them, and you're going to be harvesting them typically in August, September. They do need a lot of water. As I mentioned, they're 90% water. So they're they're very impressive. They're very cool. I had the opportunity. I brought one of my grandkids over to the thingsgreen.com botanical gardens. Had him out there, showing him how to pick them. The stems were kind of tough for him, so I got him a pair of loppers and I showed him how loppers. And this little rascal is, you know, only a couple of years old, and he was able to do that. It's just a fun thing. And if you can't grow them, I should say, if you cannot grow them, then go buy them. That's okay. But you're going to have to buy them when they have them in season. They don't normally have these outside of, say, October, late September into October, and rarely can you buy them into November. So that's why growing them is kind of cool. Or if you are going to buy them so that you could store them, and it's so important to keep them cool. Now, with that, I have more of this stuff to make, and maybe I'll get some pumpkin pie out of the deal. All right, Mrs. Things Green. By the way, she has no idea I'm doing this, so it'll be a surprise for her. She's a great cook.